Welcome back to the Empty Cup Podcast. I'm your host, Govind Poipakam, and today we are talking about the value of friendship. I have two guests with me today, or co-host, Nathaniel.
Oh, I'm co-host now. Oh, shoot.
Whatever he defines himself
I just
as.
got a promotion.
And we got a new guest, a good long-time friend of mine back from college, Davidson Poole.
Yeah, I'm Davidson Poole. I went to college with Govind. We worked at the multimedia studio together. I recently graduated in December, moved up to Philly, and so now I'm here in Atlanta for the weekend. Excited to do this podcast with you.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, I would talk a little bit closer to the camera, or to the
bad.
mic rather, because I'm glad to have you on. I think it's actually really interesting to have you on for this podcast because I think it's interesting how we became friends too, right? Because first it was like we had a job together at the multimedia studio, but it wasn't just that. It was because we became gym partners. I think that we really got close.
The gym really facilitated it, I would say. First, when we met each other at the multimedia studio, I think I had been there for like 2 years before that, and then you were like a freshman. You were just like kind of like the annoying freshman there. No, I'm just kidding. But we started going to the gym together. I think like once or twice a week. Started talking at the gym, and just like our friendship just kept expanding since then. Govin's a really good guy. Love the guy to death.
Like and comment for Govind. He's a great guy. If I say so myself. But yeah, and I think that goes to show, at least for me, that when you have similar interests and also values, I think that really facilitates in creating really great friendship. And the same thing with us, I think, is I want to say, we had a class together freshman year. I guess that's like chemistry. We had chemistry class together.
Yeah, for whatever reason, you just decided to sit next to me.
No, because I had met you before, but he didn't even remember meeting me.
I remembered seeing you one time in the hallway.
Yeah.
Wait, so did y'all know each other before you worked together?
Yeah, before at the multimedia center.
Yeah,
he actually got me the job.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
shit, I didn't know that.
Story.
Yeah, he got the job. Oh.
We don't need to get into that.
No.
Oh, I think it's funny. I'm not gonna mention it if you don't.
No.
All right, no. But yeah, because of the chemistry class, and then I guess we just got closer because of that, and then the pandemic hit, and then
Yeah, we just stayed in touch. I think we just have
yeah.
like a similar interests.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, we just kept our relationship going. It kind of like fell off for a bit during the pandemic. I think we went like several months without talking to each other.
That could also be due to several other reasons, like you were in a relationship.
Oh yeah, there's
Very
that.
cool relationship at that time.
But wasn't it? Did you work at the Multimedia Center back in fall of 2020? Oh yeah, you did.
I started working spring 2020. So yeah, I'd still be working.
Okay.
fall
So
You
yeah,
were
I think
a
that's
freshman, right? Or were you a sophomore?
Yeah, as a
So
freshman.
your first semester at college?
No, it was my third semester because I started summer 2019.
Oh, okay.
But it was
fall and then
Okay,
spring
gotcha.
went through.
But it was like fall of 2020 was when we were both working at the Multimedia Center, and that's when we started seeing each other on like at least a weekly, if not like multiple days a week basis.
Yeah.
So man, really, the Multimedia Center is what
It connects the friends.
brought
We
us
got
all
Katrina
together.
and Michelle too with that.
Donnie.
Donnie.
Bro. That was a good friend group. I won't lie. And yeah, so before we get into like friendship, I wanted to talk about the value of like social interaction in general. Especially nowadays where like social media kind of destroys the need to like engage in your community just naturally, which I kind of think is sad. But I think there's a real big value to constantly engaging in the community and like having that social flow state. I don't know if you guys have experienced that at all.
What do you mean by engaging in the community? Like specify like are you talking about like talking to random people you're passing? Or are you talking like hitting up? Oh, okay. So just random.
It's all of the above, really.
Okay.
Probably, yeah.
So I would say like there's different values to different types of friendship. You have friends like.
No, we'll get into friendship first, but I guess like the value of like personal growth of like.
Is it
engaging
important
with
to talk to someone on the way to the supermarket? Because I think one problem I have with like the world today is everyone wears AirPods everywhere that they. Sorry. Everyone wears AirPods everywhere that they go.
Yeah.
I see people that like they go out to walk their dog and they're like wearing AirPods. And it's like when people are doing this, you feel like you can't talk to them. You feel like they've closed themselves off. from everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
You're
there.
very anti-headphones.
I am. I think there is some value to like face-to-face interaction with people. It's just a vulnerability thing too. Like I think when you're closing yourself off, you're saying like, I'm trying to protect myself. Like like I don't want to be vulnerable with other people. Like in case like I say something weird, and it's like,
Well,
like we're all people. Like we can just like make small talk. It's like it doesn't affect anything.
That is, I'd say, a slight generalization because I know like wearing headphones can help a lot of people concentrate, especially when they're trying to like cut out the rest of the world. It's when you're in the
If you're
gym
like
or
studying,
running,
yeah,
it helps
yeah.
you a lot. But in general, it's kind of sad just how few people are like engaging. Well, you asked me before like how do I define like this idea of a social flow state or like constantly engaging in the community, and the way I like to think of it, it's like the boomer way of talking. It's like you see all these like older people. They generally, as you walk by, they'll say hi. They'll say, "How's it going?" And sometimes if you're on the bus together, they'll like start talking to you, and it's like second nature for them, right? They don't even think about the fact that like, oh, I'm talking to a person that I don't know.
It's kind of like now we like kind of put too much pressure on that kind of thing to go out to
Absolutely.
talk to other people. Like you see like all these YouTube videos on like Reddit posts, like how do I talk to people in public? But like back then, like when our grandparents were growing up, it wasn't even the second thought. Like I think something from my life where I can speak about this was I grew up in a rural town in Georgia, to where we knew like we would go to the supermarket and see people that we knew there. Say hello to the neighbors when you pass. Now I live in a big city where it's kind of lost that kind of thing. It kind of feels like everyone's living for themselves, and you're each in your own little bubble. And it's like, how do we break that? Because I do think it's important. I do think there is value to knowing the people in your community. Like it starts off with small talk, yeah. But then like if you're living in the same place, like you go to the same convenience store every single day, you're gonna get to know the cashier. Like they're gonna recognize you. And it's like up to you, like, do I want to take that relationship further? Or like, I would personally like them to be like on a first name basis with me. Like I don't necessarily have to like invite them over to like my house or go to their house, but like first name basis at least. I think that has been lost, and I think that's an important part of friendship and relationships.
I think even more than that, I think it plays into a lot of things, like your own sense of confidence and your social anxiety goes away when you are constantly engaging with the community. I notice this a lot when there's periods of time when I'm like in a really big or like a constant flow state where I'm constantly talking to people throughout the day, whether it's like at the gym or it's with my friends or it's just like walking around at the park or something like that. And you feel like elated, it's hard to describe that feeling of like just happiness and joy that derives from like positive social interactions, and then that idea that you took that level of discomfort from, it's uncomfortable, the idea of talking to someone you don't know, because you don't know how the interaction is going to go. You don't even know how to start it. But once you do overcome that, like any other uncomfortable thing, you feel really good after it. It's like, why did I think a lot about this in the first place? It wasn't that hard. And it's just a lot of people, once you practice this, it just becomes second nature. And it keeps you in that flow state, which it not only keeps you confident, but I think it'll also allow you to make more friends and get to know your community better.
Absolutely. I think the world becomes more available to you when you're willing to just like reach out and interact with people, especially because this is very much we all live in big cities. Along with social media, it's very much like a symptom of being in big cities. Like, it's whatever psychological reason why people become more closed off and cold to one another when you live in more like densely populated areas. But I can name I have several Instagram followers and several like extremely positive interactions that have come from just talking to strangers. And all it takes a lot of time is a smile and just to say like, ask their name or ask them a question and stuff, and people soften up so quickly. And the fear that you experience like beforehand, I think it's just it's a prerequisite to the great feeling that you have afterwards. Like if you, like you were talking about earlier, like a day where you interact with nobody versus a day that you interact with a lot of people, even if it was uncomfortable, the day where you interact with a lot of people is so much better because you're just more alive, you're more present and stuff. And, you know, maybe it's negative, maybe it's positive, but I think in terms of like life is best lived doing things and being active and ultimately like facing whatever fears it is that you have.
Yeah, I think a big fear that a lot of people have is like setting boundaries with other people. Like you're afraid, like if you start to go talk to this person on the street, an example is like a homeless person. If you talk to them, they're gonna like berate you and ask for money. They're gonna ask for something, and you don't want to have to tell them, no, I'm not giving you anything. Like you could have, you like that might sound selfish to some people. Like it might sound like a little bit rude, but I mean, like a lot of people just walk past and ignore them. Like that boundary you have to set. No, like I can smile and talk to you, but I don't want to hang out with you. Like there's no relationship past this. That's the boundary I think that's hard to set and that people are afraid of. So rather than have to meet someone that you don't necessarily vibe with completely and have to put that boundary up, we're more inclined to just go the other way and not even open ourselves up a little bit to talking to them.
Yeah, that's a sad reality, like you guys both said. I think that's a symptom of being in the city. The reality is there's a lot of homeless, there's a lot of creeps, and there's a lot of people like even trying to evangelize you. You know, there's so many people that just want your attention. We live in a world where attention is everything, and you're trying to grab everyone's attention, whether you're in real life or online. And so I think that really turns a lot of people off to social interaction, which is like the saddest thing ever, because in a city, that's like one of the things you'd look forward to if you're moving into a new city. It's like, how do I meet friends? How do I like get out of my comfort zone? And
because there's so many people to choose from.
Yeah. So it's like the sad reality, but it's not to say that people shouldn't go out to their community and get to like talk to people. I guess it's just supposed to be a challenge. It's not supposed to be easy. You know, we talked about this several times. Life isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be a challenge. And you just kind of have to take the challenge as it is and I guess work each battle. Like every conversation, you never know how it's going to go. So like, I don't know. I'd say try to be more open-minded about it, but I also understand what.
A point I want to add, I thought you made like an excellent point about setting boundaries as well, because we're talking about being open, but also on the other side, setting boundaries like for other people so that you like don't find yourself in situations that you're very uncomfortable or like you're compromising on any type of way you want to act. And one thing that, one decision I made like 2 weeks ago now, and it was from an interaction I had with you when we were approached by like what is it called, like Warhammer? What was that?
What?
The name of the organization in Atlanta? Anyway, it's like a very intense organization and in Atlanta, and they like go up to people asking for donations and whatnot. And I just made the decision right then and there that like I'm tired of like trying to skirt around these people on the street that come up to you and ask you for stuff and like avoiding eye contact and walking around them. I'm gonna intentionally make eye contact with them and just say, no, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in hearing more about it. I'm not interested in giving to your cause, because that's just, like you said, setting boundaries with people, that it's okay to say no and stuff. It's not like you don't owe them anything. And I honestly feel better. I don't want to say empowered, but I just feel almost a little stronger or like a little more sure of myself after I made that decision. And
because no one has to do anything. Like, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, and they shouldn't. They have the power if they're making you feel bad for not giving them stuff. If you have to look down and look at the other way, because they're asking you for something, you can't give them the power like that.
That's interesting you mentioned that, because my go-to is to just not make eye contact and just keep walking past, and it works for me. But I think it like you said, it just turns you off to social interaction, which you shouldn't be doing. You should be, I think, open to most interactions, but have that confidence and value for your own time and your own beliefs to be able to say, hey, I'm not interested.
Exactly.
Please stop bothering me. And then maybe a nicer way of saying that,
but I do have, actually, I don't completely agree with this, okay? Because in Philly, it's kind of a dangerous place. On the subway, like, I do feel like a little sketch sometimes being on the subway there. There are some people that are like, they're just looking around to have a fight. Those people, I would say, look the other way every time. You don't need to expose yourself to like danger like that.
That's true.
Homeless people, groups, it's like a different thing. Crazy people, drug addicts, I'd just say don't do it.
That's true. My roommate was telling me about like a similar situation in Philly at like 6 a.m. in the morning where there were like racist kids on the train station or on the subway. And he's just like, yeah, I don't know if they have like a knife or a gun. Like, I'm not gonna like engage in them because you never know. I mean, he was staring at them though, so I don't know. If that's even...
I think like when a lot of New Yorkers, like when shit happens, they just like keep walking. They don't even acknowledge that this like crazy event just happened. This guy's like walking on his hands or whatever.
The sad reality of that is I feel like you get disengaged from your community. Like there was a comedian that I just heard made this joke. He was on Letterman. Letterman has like his own like Netflix show. I don't know if you've seen it. But this comedian was on, and he's a New York comedian, and he was talking about how New York has like gotten worse because of the pandemic. Like he saw a homeless guy get broken by the city. Like he was on the subway, and this guy was just standing there, and eventually he just started screaming. He's like, ah! And instead of like helping him or anything, some guy just came up to this and started rapping on top of him. He was like, oh yeah, I can use this, and then started using it as a beat. I was like, that's New York for you. You won't get the medical help that you need, but you might be part of a diss track. That was a funny joke, but I think it's a sad reality.
Yeah, dude. I think like it's like in an ideal world, people would like if some guy's like blasting music on the subway, people would be like, yo, cut that shit out. In an ideal world, in practicality, you don't know what that guy is carrying. You don't know if he's got a weapon, if he's gonna go off on you for the littlest thing. So you just gotta ignore him.
Yeah,
that's my take.
His mind is his weapon too. Sometimes, you know, if they're unhinged. Anyway, then we're getting into this is tangent central over here. But yeah, I guess we talked about how we met, but an important, or like an idea I've been contemplating is, do you guys only bring or like think about friendships when you could see them getting to a closer, so I have like different, I describe friendships as like there's different tiers to it, right? At like the lowest tier, it's just like someone that you've met, that you've had something similar with or a reason to talk to, and you're amicable with them. What's the word? Right? Amicable with them. But you're not necessarily close or anything. And I'd say that's like the lowest tier of friendship. And then a tier above that is maybe someone that you would see on the street and you'd stop to talk to them. Maybe if you were throwing a social event, you'd like to have them there, you'd invite them. But they're not necessarily the person that you like are super close to, maybe tell your like closest problems to. And then at the highest tier of friendship, I'd say it's like the person you plan things with. Like if you're throwing a party, they wouldn't be on the invite list, they'd be planning a party with you. You tell them like your closest like issues, you like hang out with them on a like a weekly basis, probably like a good bit. And so my question to you guys was like, do you think that when you're making friendships, do you like necessarily see yourself like trying to plan out like, oh, would I see this person getting to that level eventually, or do you just never think about that and it's just for you it's like situational? Or yeah, you can go ahead and tell us.
I guess I can go. I think I'm kind of like, I've been thinking through this kind of recently, and so like my ideas are just like they're still developing, so I can't say like with a fact, but kind of how I'm trying to live now, like opening myself up to everyone, like be willing to like be good friends with everyone, but that everyone has an energy about them that doesn't allow you to do this completely. So it's like, I think of it like there's like a lot of different people, each viewing the world with a different lens. And so I'm trying to find the people that view me the way that I view me, that can view me through the same lens where I view the world. They view the world the same way that I view the world.
Does that come down to like having similar values, or is that?
I think it could definitely come from having similar values, but just open-mindedness. I think everyone has shit they're struggling with, and some people's shit gets in the way of them like really connecting with me and being good friends with me, and some people have like emotional issues that they bring to the table that are just too much to deal with. And so it's like you got to find the people that I think balance you out well. I would say not just similar values, but also can balance with you, can see the world like you do. So I would say like you're gonna have people. It's a fact. You're gonna have people that you don't completely get along with. That might be like almost the opposite of you. But let's say like. Are they like friends of yours or just people you keep in your life? Like, do you consider them friends even? I would say they're friends.
But they're like the lowest tier of friends to you. It's just like situational almost.
I would say they're friends, but it's like they're like going out friends.
Mm-hmm.
They're like friends, like they might be fun. Like they might like maybe their good trait is like they bring a lot of energy, and so like you want to go out with them and have fun at a bar with them. But like I'm also like not gonna like they're not gonna be planning the party with me. You know, like the people that are planning the party with me are people that see the world the way I do. The people that like want to have a good time, and I mean I guess everyone wants to have a good time, but like you know what I mean.
I don't know.
Well, there's an idea that everybody or every relationship that you have unlocks a different part of you. That you're not going to have like the same type of relationship structure or dynamic with everybody. And so the point I'm trying to make is that, and I've fallen prey to this, is that you don't always, I would say, have to be so intense with every relationship where like you're thinking to yourself, oh, I couldn't see this person becoming a part of my inner circle, so I shouldn't associate with them. Yeah. It's that like, you know, some people are you just really enjoy going out with, like you said earlier, and that enriches your life. You have so much fun with them, but you're not gonna like the next morning like hit them up to go shoot a podcast together or like come to them with your problems or with like for their opinions on like things you're struggling with. Yeah. And so that's my point on what you said. I'll go into, I guess, how I thought of this, because I'm going to piggyback on what O just said in the previous podcast. Actually, the terms he used.
If you haven't watched it, go watch it now before you continue watching.
Yeah, where he talked about you have like an A-list, B-list, and C-list of people that you know. And so your C-list is like everybody you're acquainted with, that you've met or interacted with to some degree. Your B-list is like friends, just like, you know, oh goodness, mid-level friends but not close ones. And then you have your A-list, and that's like your inner circle close friends. And I would say that I personally definitely am constantly like evaluating where everybody falls in my life. And I'm very within like the last year have become like very purposeful with my relationships, specifically like my inner circle people. So like I have literally on a note in my phone, like these are the like my inner circle friends. These are the people that I respond to the quickest, that I show up for them regardless of what they need. They're the ones that I like, instead of just like a text on the birthday, I call them to sing happy birthday to them, that sort of stuff.
You sing?
Yeah. I don't sing well. It's just like, I just feel like it's like something to put extra effort to make them feel special and appreciated.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. But I totally like, so far what we've talked about a lot on this podcast so far is like how you interact with like, or bringing people on board to your C list of like just being more open to the world of interacting with strangers. And of course, like immediately upon like interacting with them, getting their name and catching their vibe a little bit, they get onto your C list. And then, you know, most of the times your lives don't align whatsoever, so you never see them again, and they just, you know, on the C list and then fall off eventually. But a lot of times if your lives do align with if you work in the same place, or if you have a hobby that y'all can connect on, they come on your B list. And like specifically for me, I'm constantly evaluating all the people on my B list and being like, are these guys gonna make it to the A list? And I actually there is one guy in my life right now who's like kind of come to the front of the B list, and I'm like evaluating him and just like inviting him to like spending more and more time with him, seeing if like
this podcast
he might be watching this podcast. I don't know.
Shout out to someone.
Shout out to this guy. Yeah, just seeing if he's like the type of person who I would want to be on my A list. And like I said, I'm very intentional. So like in my mind, I have everybody written out who's on that A list, and if I were to like make the decision or whatnot to put him on my A list, like I would then be willing to like put a lot more effort and showing up for this person, supporting them, and staying in touch with them long term.
What would you say is holding him back from being on the A list?
So far, it's just like amount of time spent together.
Oh,
Like
okay.
ultimately, because like when I view my people on my A list are ones that like I will be friends with for like if not the rest. Usually, like I think about it like the rest of my life, but at least for like the next 5 to 10 years at least. Like just people who we have. Our lives are so in synchronous. We just enjoy each other's company so much and bring so much value to each other that like it would just be ridiculous for us to stop being friends. And so, but also you have to have a certain amount of experience and interactions with each other to kind of see yourself being friends with them that long.
Yeah.
So this guy that I'm talking about so far, like we've been friends for a minute, but we just haven't spent like that much time one-on-one together. Or
It's kind of like dating in a way.
it really
Like-
is. I think
like friend dating.
personally, I feel like people should be just as intentional with their friendships as they are with their romantic relationships.
That's a good
And
point.
especially when you start to develop really good, strong, healthy relationships, you also start to see some of the things happen in friendships that do in romantic relationships, like getting in fights, getting angry with each other, checking one another, but also like supporting one another, even being emotional and vulnerable in one another. I think all of those are applicable to a great friendship, just as a romantic relationship.
Yeah, I think Otis had his own kind of definition, but it's the exact same thing that I have. I just call it tiers. He calls it A, B, and C list. But I guess I brought this up, the whole like tier list, but the reality for me at least is that I don't really think about it as much. I mean, I think about it when I'm like, something like a birthday comes up and I'm like thinking about like, who would I actually invite to this? It's interesting because like such a like minor thing as like even remembering your birthday, like you see like which one of my friends actually like remembers it's my birthday, or like even like would see it on Facebook and would take the time to wish me. It's like such a small thing. It's all these like minor things that you notice that like distinguish your tier 3 or your C list from your tier 2 or your B list, right, or your A list. It's all these like small things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's also bigger things like who has your back when you need like some favor done. But I think for me, it's always the smaller things that I start to notice, like, oh, like I'm hanging out with this person a lot, or oh, I don't really like value like the same things he values or she values, so I wouldn't necessarily like want to spend a lot of time with this person anymore. I think it's always those minor things that like build up, and that's like the reason you like start to distinguish naturally in your head who's your like 1, 2, or 3, or you just stop talking to them altogether. I don't know if you guys.
Would you, how big would you say you want your circle to be? I think that's another good question.
Another good question is
Oh yeah, I'd love to tackle
is
this.
like some people want to like have all the friends in the world. Some people want their circles to be huge, but it's like it's literally not possible for your A list to be huge. It has to be like a certain small number of people, and so you have to be somewhat selective with it. So do you think it's valuable to have a large C list too,
Oh yes.
or
Well,
whatever
that's
the
like
tier is?
That's what networking is, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
So
yeah.
absolutely. I think a B list too could, not like incredibly large, but a B list can be pretty big and still work out. But like, yeah, like you said, I think I personally, at least, like my A list is only 5 people, and I just because like they say you are the average of the 5 people that you spend with. So I have all 5 of those names written down, and I'm constantly just thinking about who are these people, where are they headed with their life, how are they interacting with the world, are they growing? Do I feel inspired when I'm interacting with them? Because ultimately, those are the 5 people that I will most associate with, and that I will pretty much become the 6th, the average of those 5.
I like that.
Yeah, for me, when I was growing up, I've always like wanted like a friend group, but it wasn't necessarily for any other purpose other than like I wanted to be in this like cool friend group where there was like half guys, half girls, and we were all like really interesting people. And mostly it was for me, it was like I'm thinking about like clout, like I was like, oh, this is super cool, like I want to be that like popular friend group or whatever. But like more recently, it's become like I think about like even like an ideal world, like I'd have like a cool my own like team. If for example this YouTube business took off, I'd have my own team working with me, like my editor, and then like maybe like a couple of cinematography guys and something else, more guys, and then that team would be like my close group of friends because naturally we have like this big project that we're working on together, and we have a lot of similar values because of it. And then I guess like whoever, I don't even know, like for me, B list doesn't matter as much as like A and C do, because C is like your networking, and then A is like you have to be very careful about who you let into that group, for one thing, because these are the people that know the most about you and that you have the most trust in and you might need to rely on. So you have to be careful who you even let into your A list. So now, more recently, it's like, I'm not as picky about getting people into that A list. I want there to be quality there, and I want us to be very similar.
Okay.
So that's now where I am now. I don't know how you would describe.
I think. I like you, like that. No, sorry, I said like you. I do like you though. You're a cool guy.
Appreciate it.
Like you, I have wanted to have like that sort of like friendship dynamic. I feel like I have several like close friends, and when I go back home, I do have like a really good friend group. But I think living in a different city, it's kind of hard for that. And so I think right now I'm at the point where I'm like trying to find that in a new city. And it's hard. I mean, like when you move to a city by yourself, it's like you have a small group of people. I have my coworkers to hang out with. And I wouldn't say any of them are in like my A list yet. Like they're B list right now. It's like, I think I like the point that you made, Nathaniel, though, about being intentional with it and like thinking, because like I don't really think about it too much, honestly. Like, are they transit? Like, where are they going in life? Am I the average of these people? I think it's a good thing to kind of meditate on and think about.
Yeah, a point that one like a person on TikTok that I like, he said that, you know, if we want to talk about like for people who are trying to like live a very high quality life, she gave the advice of making the point to align your friendships with future experiences versus past experiences. Because a lot of people, like this, it applies specifically for high school friends. Like a lot of times you're just friends with them because you went to high school together. And literally when I'm with my high school friends, don't hear me like just shitting on my high school friends. I love them and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to live life with them. But pretty much when we're together, all we do is talk about high school and just like we talk about other people from high school and just what they're doing with their lives and stuff. And I definitely, since hearing her say that on TikTok, have, and again, been intentionally looking for that, is trying to interact with people and create friendships and relationships with people who are futures aligned together, that they have, you know, big dreams and goals, and that instead of just like talking about the past all the time and laughing about it, which that's fun and all, but I want to feel inspired. I want to feel empowered, and I want to bring that to the table as well to other people. I want them to feel inspired and them to feel empowered about our futures and where we're going together.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, what I was gonna say was, I think for me, the important thing is like understanding my own values before I go out to like bring people into my A list. Because I think if you don't understand, I guess, yourself enough, you don't know what you're looking for. And maybe that's okay. You know, if you don't know exactly where you stand, maybe it's important to have a very diverse group of friends. Even now, I still believe in having a diverse group of friends. Yeah. Because I think that's how you get a better understanding of the world, is by having a diverse group of friends.
Diverse in what way, though?
That's
like
interesting.
Values, like diverse, like
maybe not so much values.
Skin color. Like,
no, that that doesn't matter. I mean, I guess like culture, views, political views.
You don't want to be stuck
views.
in an echo chamber.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You want people who challenge you.
I want people to constantly question what I believe.
Exactly. Who hold you accountable.
That too. Well, that also comes down to values. If people know, I want people in my A list that know what I stand for and constantly push me to stay within those values. Because otherwise, like, we're just gonna become complacent together, right?
Yeah.
So.
But I think like these values that we're talking about can manifest themselves in a lot of different ways. Like for me, a big thing that I've just thought of hearing you talk that's important for like my close friends is critical thinking. And I have like in my close friend group, I have people who are very like liberal, very conservative, very spiritual, very religious and stuff. But the key points that I like about all of them is their commitment to critical thinking and to challenge their own beliefs. That they are unafraid to challenge their beliefs, and they are unafraid to challenge me when they disagree with me and stuff. So either, because we're ultimately, the point is that even though we're going to disagree or agree on different topics and we don't see the world the same in all the ways, but we're both dedicated to like developing the best ideas possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of a comment on this podcast in general, or a reflection of this podcast in general, as my goal is to have people on that have different views but also have done that critical thinking, that they can bring a perspective that I don't quite understand, because I know things I say on here probably piss some people off.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays people are also very sensitive, so I'm not going to take the full heat for that, because I think people are just sensitive. But I will say that I genuinely enjoy talking to people that I disagree with on certain things, especially on this podcast, because that's kind of what this whole conversation is for, is so that you understand things better, or maybe get a perspective that you didn't quite have before.
Yeah, I really like the echo chamber idea. It's like, I don't like that idea, but I like not having the echo chamber idea. Like critical thinking, I think is very important, but I think what's even more important is willingness to admit that you're wrong, willingness to be open-minded towards new opinions. Like if I'm debating you and you're just like adamant on what you're saying, and you don't really, like when you're debating with people, especially like some politics stuff, you could kind of tell like when you've hit a wall, like they don't really know why they believe what they believe, and they're still like adamant about it, and it's just like, come on, bro, like I can't talk to you anymore about this.
Because they're just stubborn.
Because they're stubborn. So it's like finding, I think like non-stubbornness would be definitely like a trait I try to find with my friends, with my A-list.
A way to look at it, because I totally, that's another big thing, is open-mindedness and a willingness to change, is that, and this of course works really, really applicable in romantic relationships, but also in friendships, is when you're debating or discussing it, you shouldn't be viewing it as you versus him, or you versus her, you versus you. It should be us versus the problem, or us versus like the answer we're trying to find.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And I feel like when that type of interaction, and when you approach problems that way, it's like very constructive, respectful, and valuable.
I do really like that, because it's like you're working together towards the problem.
Exactly.
Instead of fighting each other over this problem.
Like a big thing, and this is just a tangent, we don't want to get into this unless Govin is okay with it, but like obviously there's a big court decision that happened recently.
Oh no, we're not getting into that.
But yeah, I'm just giving an example that with all my friends within my inner circle, I've talked to all of them about it recently, because we were just genuinely trying to figure out how to best interpret this, like what's the best solution for these types of problems.
Oh no. Oh no.
Nah, I've definitely talked to all my friends about this too, and
I did want to mention one thing before we got into whatever it is we were going to
no, this isn't a political
Oh,
podcast.
okay, yeah.
It's just, we're talking about, like, me and my friends, some of my friends have had conflicting views about it, and I know they're my friend because I could sit down and disagree with them about something, and at the end of the day, like, we like could shake hands and
We're still friends, yeah.
Because you respect each other.
Because we
That's a
respect
big
each
thing,
other.
yeah.
I think that's a problem today, is there's a lack of respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When talking to people that have different views.
Because you have to, like, think about like the Trump presidential election.
Oh, no.
Like, think about him debating the other Republicans in the room. They're like reasonable people, and he's just like
Wrong.
He's just like wrong. He's just like yelling like a little toddler, and then he wins because of that. Like, that's the people like think
bully.
like people like the confident, strong man who's like a bully and he's gonna lead. When really that's not how it should be.
No, that's true. And I wanted to go back to what you guys were saying before about being able to disagree with people. And I think I really enjoyed that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, because it talks about how to like approach a conversation with someone where you disagree. And there's like multiple things that you do in it that people just don't do today. One thing is having that humility to understand, just first of all say like, hey, I might be wrong about this, and then present your opinion. That way you're showing like, oh, I'm trying to learn here. I'm not just trying to present my opinion, not present this as if it's a fact, not an opinion. And then the second thing is willingness to actually like listen to the other person
Absolutely.
and validate their opinion first of all before you just say no, you're wrong. Validation of their opinion, like trying to genuinely understand why it is they think the way they do, is like the biggest missing piece, I think, in today's society.
Oh yeah, like one point I want to make, and this is kind of connecting what you just said, but also backtracking a little bit to just interacting with strangers or people on a daily basis. And this is one of the principles of Adonis.
Oh my God.
You signed up for this.
But it's just, it's having a student mindset of always realizing that you have something to learn from every single person you come into contact with. And honestly, when I adopted this mindset, the world became so much more interesting. Just in every interaction, just reminding myself, there's like, just look for what you can learn from them. Because this person knows something or is experiencing things you haven't and stuff. And that is, the student mindset is like a subset of like having humility and stuff, of realizing, again, of constantly being the student mindset of constantly learning and never thinking you have it figured out. And I would say, so my point is I would challenge anybody listening, and for you guys right here, is just like think about having that student mindset on your day-to-day interactions, and you'll find that you smile more and stuff. You have better conversations, like people are more interested because you end up asking more questions and generally are more interested in what they have to say, and that just makes people like you more and makes you have a better time.
Always being a student, I really like that. I think definitely I think another offshoot of that would be to take trials that you're going through in your life and spin them as a positive experience. Like no matter whatever conflict you're getting into, you're always going to learn something from that. You're always going to come out a better person. And personally, I would rather have conflicts in my life and learn from them than just everything be okay all the time. Because I know I'm growing, and it's better to be growing than to be numb to the world.
That's a great point, because TikTok has been sending me a bunch of these videos of people making edits of like the thing is like I asked God for strength and he gave me like opportunities to test myself or to prove it, and I asked God for wisdom and he gave me difficult problems to solve, like that sort of thing.
Yeah,
you're forged by the conflicts that you are willing to overcome or push through.
There's actually a verse in the Bible. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but I remember it.
About the Bible.
From growing up in Sunday school. It was like, I think David was like writing a psalm, and he was like, "Thank you, God, for like putting me through these trials." After he was like homeless and destitute, or it might have been someone completely different. It might have been Job. Anyway, it's somewhere in there. So I kind of think about that. I just think like thank you. I just kind of think of like thank you universe for like giving me this issue to deal with, because I'm going to be better because of
it's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity.
It's all about how you approach the situation. Is this a problem, or is this an opportunity to learn, to grow?
It's that framing.
Exactly.
Yeah, just bringing this back to friendship, I think that is what we were talking about today.
Oh yeah.
But no, like you guys bring up a good point, and like a valuable, the value of friendship is also this idea that you are growing. Like friendships allow you to grow because you get to learn from them, you make mistakes talking to them, arguing with them, and that helps you to grow as a person. So it's not only just like the social aspect of it, it's also like your personal growth from it. And yeah, I totally forgot what I was gonna say after that, but
we can go into the next topic.
Oh no, I do want to talk about your opinions on like being in college. This is kind of a shift forward into like how our experiences in college, how it is with like clubs and fraternities, how like these social construct, I don't know, or these constructs of the society to help facilitate social things or whatnot. There's a better way to put this, but how do these artificial structures, are they like real friendship, like at the end of the day? And I can go ahead and start this off. Like I'm in a fraternity, like I've been in several clubs, and I guess like at the end of the day, like there's something in common for all of you to like be there, right? Like whether it's a club for a certain thing or a fraternity where you're just hanging out a lot and doing things within the community, you start off with that hobby, and the goal is to get closer with the people in there because of that, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not like it's guaranteed to happen that you will get close. Me personally, like being in a fraternity, I haven't gotten super close with a lot of people in there, but I know a lot of people in there have gotten very close with each other. I know you've had maybe a quite different experience with that. Yeah, you want to tell?
Yeah, I mean, so I was in a fraternity while I was in college. I thought it was an incredible experience. I can't say how much I enjoyed that.
That was great.
Because it was a great experience. I think what it provides is very rare, in that it provides you a really easy social structure to kind of move up and not move up, but like go through and meet people.
The alpha of society.
Meet people who will become like friends down the line. Like I think, like if I'm going to Chicago, I know people in Chicago. If I'm going to San Francisco and New York, it's like there's always like a few fraternity brothers to hang out with there. I think that's one thing it opens up. I think it also tests you a little bit because there's a lot of different personalities in a fraternity. A lot of different people fighting to be like kind of like the alpha guy too, and it kind of tests you a little bit. It's like it makes you question your beliefs. Like when someone wants to be like drinking with you all the time, what are you gonna say? Are you gonna like do your work, or are you gonna go drink with them? Like it causes you to like kind of I think you said this earlier, but like other people kind of teach you about yourself, and so I think that was the value of it for me. So yeah, you definitely have a lot of people that aren't really close to you. They're just like casual friends. You might have some people you don't like in it, but I made some like really close friends from it.
Yeah. No, I definitely have. I'm like living with some of the guys from it next year, and there's definitely people in there that are somewhat close to me. But I would never say that. I don't think I would say that there are any ones that like got to that tier 1 or like a status of friendship. Which there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It just comes down to whether you expect everyone that you become friends with to get up to that tier list, or whether it's just situational. Which I would say that I more so agree with it. Okay, that's like a situational thing. I see value in the fraternity more so than just like just the social aspect, but like being a part of it too. And so
another interesting thing about it, after you graduate, so while you're in it, you have like your little friend group inside. Like you may have like your clique in the fraternity, like your boys that you hang out with. But then when you graduate and you move to a new city, it's like there might be like 2 guys in the city that you didn't really talk to, and they didn't really talk either while you're in the fraternity, but you move there and like you become a squad in this new city.
Oh, that's fun.
And so it's pretty interesting. It's like, oh, I didn't really talk to them too much, but like, hey, I'll go grab drinks with them, and then it's like, oh, you're actually really cool.
But I'd say one like fallacy of at least Georgia Tech was that when I came in, I constantly heard, oh, you'd have to join a fraternity to have social life, which I think is a big fallacy. Because take you and me, for example. I mean, we wouldn't have met because of if I didn't join a fraternity. There's a whole situational thing that if I didn't join the fraternity, I wouldn't have met you, actually. But we were friends because of a similar job, and then like because of the gym later that facilitated that friendship. So I think it is a slight fallacy to say that you can't make friends without this artificial structure.
I think it is. I think it's kind of like you can't be rich without living in a rich neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of thing. Like you can't be rich without connecting to rich friends. Like I think you can do this stuff. You can like it's just it takes a little bit more work outside of that.
And Nathaniel, you're a testament to that because you're not in a fraternity and you have like a decent social life.
Yeah,
right?
I'm working on it.
Yeah,
I'm working. I'll definitely they help. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
As someone who like is not very involved in clubs or fraternities, like it's definitely more difficult to become friends with people. And I've actually like recently been intentionally getting connected and involved in clubs at Georgia Tech and like young adult groups in the Atlanta area, because even if you want to call it artificial or whatnot, it still like facilitates you meeting with people who's at least like, because of the environment that you're in, like your interests are vetted a little bit, so you know at least some of them overlap. And one thing that I would just want to recommend to you earlier, especially like because we grow up in school and we come to college and like these socialization is kind of created for us. just by being around people our same age and living our lives living alongside each other. And I was talking about my dad recently because like people were kind of like, I was like, just reading stuff online on how like people get so sad when they leave college and get into the young adult world because suddenly they have a hard time making friends if they move to a new city and stuff, and they just want to be like, woe is me that we have so much fun in college and then we have to start adulting, blah blah blah, and have no friends and I'm lonely. And my dad was like, no, Nathaniel, like it just requires a little bit more effort and stuff. That's all, because your hand was held a little bit in high school and in college. All you got to do is just make the effort, and you can still have a great social life and have lots of friends. And one thing that I've at least experienced, as Gov and I did this together, was going to a Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym, and it was full of like young.
You did it too, yeah.
I don't know. Have you done that yet?
I actually do it like once a week.
No way. Okay, so I was gonna recommend that.
Once every 2 weeks, probably. Like
Yeah,
if they're watching, they're probably like, nah, he doesn't come every week.
Well, I was gonna recommend that environment too, just because when we were there, I wasn't able to train because of my situation, but I was like talking to a lot of people on the sideline, and they were explaining me to like the social aspect of how much like fun they have, and like they're all like one big friend group, and they just have drinks together and they bond over doing BJJ and pretty much living life together, because a lot of those guys go there multiple nights a week, and like those are the types of things that I would highly recommend, and I'm putting in effort to develop and highly recommend people out of college and young adults like yourself is to like go find like a club at whether it's a church or it's a gym, or I was also looking into like the salsa club and stuff, getting into like salsa or bachata dancing, and there's just tons of social events surrounding those.
Yeah.
Well, since you're already, so that was.
I do it. Here's the thing. I do it once a week, and so it's like, or once every 2 weeks, and it's like, you're not gonna get that sort of social interaction if you're going that infrequently. But right now, I have some other goals and that are kind of competing with it.
Gotcha.
I think eventually I'm gonna try to go like 3 or 4 times a week, but that's later down the line.
That's a good point that you bring up. Is the same thing with the fraternity. It's like, how much time do you actually put in to get to know the people there?
Yeah.
It's a big like problem. Like for me, I'm not gonna lie. Like I didn't spend as much time as like a lot of the other people there getting to know the other fraternity members, but I think it just came down to just like having different interests, having different values, and like my values are more so aligned with like spending time with other friends, staying really intensely focused on school. So I didn't spend as much time with the fraternity, and that's probably why that's the reason that like those friendships weren't as close. And it's the same way with any structure or any club or anything.
Got to put in the time.
Yeah, but I liked what you said. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I remember before I just thought of that. You were saying something, about making friends. And I thought that was a really good point, is that if you are at level 0 of having no friends, the most important thing I think you can do, especially even if you're not in college or any sort of education structure, is make sure you plan things in your life that are actually fun and social. Because even if you're doing those things by yourself, the ability to meet people there and like build social interactions from that is like
Something
endless.
You gotta go get it. You gotta be intentional. Like one
Yeah.
thing I'm doing is that even though I'm not like crazy religious or anything, but I'm getting plugged in to a church in Atlanta, because they have a like great young adult ministry there, and I'm like, oh, here's just things to put on my calendar that are fun to show up to. I'll meet new people. Who knows what will come out of it. And same with like becoming more a part of this like salsa club in Atlanta. Like learning by doing research in the salsa club, I realized that there are social events that are hosted by different restaurants and like other clubs every week.
That's pretty cool.
Every week, and apparently, and I'm like in a group chat now for it, and they're like apparently there's people. Yeah, I'm already in the group chat.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're already talking to like apparently there's like people from this club at almost every single event that happens every single week, and I'm like, man, like obviously I'm still working myself up to go, because I have no experience whatsoever in salsa dancing, and and I'm trying to go to a little class before I just jump on the dance floor with somebody. But again, like I said,
that's the thing. It's like so many people. Everyone just wants to make friends with people. So like you go to this club, like you're a little nervous. Like the first day I went to jiu-jitsu, I was like kind of nervous. I was like these people seem like they know each other. Like I'm like a newbie. Like I don't know anything about this, and they were so open. They were like, here, like we'll like have like a one-on-one with you, and like they showed me like what,
Yeah.
and they beat my ass.
No, yeah, I remember.
No, but they were so friendly and like open to making friends.
Yeah.
And I think you get that out of any club you go to. I think me and a couple fraternity brothers went and got drinks last night. And I would say they're really good friends of mine. And we had this conversation about, I think one of the big negatives of being in a fraternity is that you close yourself off to making friends with other people. Like if you have your group in your fraternity, there's no need to like have any other friends at that point in your mind. And so what's happening is we're graduating college, we're realizing like if we want to have like a bigger circle, we should probably like be more open to people. We should make friends with other people other than just fraternity people. But it's hard, man. It's hard when you're in that mentality of like, I have this circle, I don't need to make any friends.
Yeah.
It's hard transitioning that.
But it comes down to what we started talking about in the first part of the episode, that like being in a proper social flow state and honestly being open and having a fun life where you are able to meet people. And the combination of both those things is how, no matter what your circumstances are in life, whether you're in college or you're working full time, or maybe you're living in your parents' basement, like this, the answer is the same, really.
So what would you recommend people do if they
Well, we just talked about
I mean, if
What would you say?
like,
You're gonna say the
I would
answer.
say look at your week, look at your schedule for the week, and plan some things where you could potentially meet people. Like plan some fun activities, like jujitsu, or
like go
going
to
to
a
the
fun,
park,
don't like
or go
plan
to
it.
events.
Like go to a fun activity.
Yeah, go to, like, even if you're going by yourself, like if it's a social event of some sort, there's ability to meet people there that might, be cool to you and like have similar values, and you can.
That's hard though, going to a place by yourself if it's
no,
your
for
first
sure.
time.
Which is
it's
why you
not
have
used
to get
it.
in the importance of getting in a proper social flow state,
Mm-hmm.
which is just interacting with people. So it's 2 and 2, I think, right?
What comes down to, again, the concept of getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And one I saw a video that just termed it this way, that upon like adopting this mindset and facilitating my schedule is chasing or going after novelty, always exposing yourself to novel things, to new things in your day-to-day life. And that kind of keeps you energized and stuff. It keeps you moving, and it keeps you, I guess, more open to the world, to new ideas, to new experiences. And that's what, again, we're talking about is, getting out of your comfort zone to meet new people, to create new relationships, and it just brings more opportunities into your life.
I like that. I feel like I'm the type of person where it's like I have this routine, I have this schedule every day, and it kind of gets mundane. It gets kind of repetitive. So definitely, I'll take that in mind and kind of like try to pop some new stuff in.
Yeah, life is so much more fun. Like I have Google Calendar, and I look at my week. I'm like, okay, how many new things did I do this week?
Huh.
And like this past week, I did 2 new things, I think. Yeah, I went to a new church event where it was like a church event with like hundreds of young adults. I went with a friend, but he was the only person I knew. So I just showed up, didn't know anybody, but I met a bunch of people and stuff. Went to a new building, ate some food, saw fireworks. It was great. And then another thing I did, I went to like the invention studio with another friend, and I did like a little woodwork.
That's
and
so
so
cool.
yeah, those are the 2 I can think of off the
Shout
top
out
of
to
my head.
Daniel.
Yeah, shout out to Daniel. He was a past guest.
Yeah,
And so, and again, I was literally like last night, I was looking at my calendar for next week, and I'm like, okay, I have 1 new thing scheduled on my calendar. How can I get 2 or 3 more?
Speaking of Daniel, actually, I think he's like the ultimate person because he just does like random challenges.
Yeah,
He
for
also
real.
just does like a bunch of random things. He does like gymnastic rings. He goes to the gym. He does jujitsu. He like his friend group is very diverse.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know how he's met all these people.
Yeah, for real.
But he's just like a very adventurous person, and I think having that adventurous mentality is really the fundamental thing that will allow you to make friends, because that leads to that social aspect. And it's impossible. not
That's
to
a big
do.
one I'm learning for like when it comes to romantic relationships or partnerships, is having like a sense of adventure, being adventurous and stuff. Because things like, it's just boring if you just
Yeah,
if you never
it's the
like
same
push
thing.
yourself or go try new things and stuff.
You think that's just you, or do you think that's applicable to everyone?
I would say like more or less. Like obviously some people are going to be more reserved or more crazy, but I would think that everybody's life would be enriched by at least if you don't have it already, working on developing a sense of adventure.
I like that.
I think that's a good place to end the podcast.
Sense of adventure.
Yeah,
Sense of
yeah.
adventure.
If you're still with us, hopefully you are. Thanks for watching the whole thing. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like and consider subscribing. And as always, take care. See you guys.
See ya.